Welcome to Cosmic Diaries and happy Ganesha Chaturthi. So, we're 4 days into this new moon cycle, the Virgo new moon cycle, and this fourth day after this lunar cycle, this lunar new moon, marks Ganesh Chaturthi in India, which is the festival of Ganpati, the elephant headed god. And of course, now I am talking about the Vedic lunar calendar, but the new moon and the full moon cycles are still the same, whether you're following Western or Vedic astrology. It just depends on, we're just using a different zodiac in a sense. But anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. I just wanted to wish you a very happy Ganpati and Ganesh Chaturthi. And it is also interesting that, I mean, of course, the festival falls on the same lunar date every year, which is the fourth day, Chaturthi, which is fourth day, after this particular new moon. But especially right now, since this year, this Virgo new moon also coincided with the Mars-Saturn conjunction in Scorpio. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today a little bit. And Ganpati is the remover of all obstacles, and Saturn is limitations and obstacles seen in one way. But given this is Ganpati and we're just past a conjunction, I would say this is a very auspicious time to move past any blockages and obstacles in your life. And if you pray, say a little prayer for Ganpati Bappa. He listens. So, okay, back to the Mars and Saturn conjunction. So this Mars-Saturn conjunction took place in Scorpio on the 25th of August, 2014. And the last conjunction between these two planets, Mars and Saturn, took place 2 years ago on the 15th of August 2012. So Mars and Saturn conjunct once every 2 years and in a different sign, because Saturn has a 2.5 year cycle. Saturn will move through a sign every 2.5 years, and the two of them meet once every 2 years in a conjunction. Also, the last time this, so one thing to do would be look at what happened 2 years ago, August 15, 2012, and look at how that whole cycle played out over the past 2 years and the lessons that you've learned, because Saturn is always teaching us lessons. Saturn is the teacher. So look at the lessons you've learned and look at how that cycle played out, and it'll give you a sense of how these Mars-Saturn conjunction cycles play out. So given that, you can see how you've evolved since then, and look at what you're setting into motion now, because painting in broad strokes, this is something that's going to come to fruition and full circle in about 2 years. Another thing to look at would be the last time Mars and Saturn were conjunct in Scorpio itself was 30 years ago. So in 1984. Because Saturn has a 30-year orbit. Saturn will return to a sign once every 28 to 30 years. So yes, as much as this has been a 2 year window over the past 2 years cycle, really what we've completed and we're leaving behind is a 30-year cycle. So it may take a minute, but go back and try to dig through your memory and your past and your experiences, in case you haven't already noticed the echoes and if you haven't already observed them. When you start to look at your life right now, you'll see that there are echoes of what came about. Or rather, if not echoes, you're coming full circle with what happened about 30 years ago. And now this is a chance to leave everything behind and make a clean new start. Mars and Saturn are also considered the two malefics in astrology. And whereas, for example, Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics. So I don't look at astrology as good or bad. I think it's astrology by definition is asking us to, or helps us to rise above that judgment of good and bad and duality. So when I say malefic, it doesn't mean that something bad is happening. It's just the energies are more intense and transformational and need to be handled with greater awareness. So you don't slip up. So okay, what's really going on here? We looked back to 30-year cycles. You look back to a 2-year cycle. I would also suggest you look back to 15 years ago, which was the halfway point, when Saturn was in Taurus, opposite where it is currently. These are just important marking points, and now that Mars and Saturn meet again in Scorpio, Scorpio is the sign that represents death and rebirth. It represents resurrection, it represents transformation, a deep exchange of energy, where you're exchanging resources with another and energy on the deepest level. So, money, sex, but not just sex for procreation, where you're talking about bloodlines, or marriage, where then again your money and your finances are merged. Scorpio is also about power. Scorpio really, at its depth, is about ego death, because the ego is the only thing that dies. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. Matter can only be transformed. And at its very, very base level, we are all just matter. But then what is it that makes us different from, I don't know, a pen? It's that consciousness within. And that's indestructible. And that's Scorpio, where Scorpios change. It's water in transformation. But the essence never dies. So right now, whatever is unfolding in your life right now, there's a feeling of waking up in the aftermath of destruction and suddenly looking around you to see old order crumbling. But in the ashes of that past, there is something new resurrecting now. And it's more than likely that it's not, this is Scorpio, so it's probably going on in the shadows, or it's hidden. And what you need to remember this time is to keep your integrity at all costs. Because if you lose that, then you're going to lose your anchor in the midst of this change. There's also a level now of returning to yourself and that inner essence, but also growing in and evolving in maturity. Again, ask yourself the lessons you've learned. Mars is the sign of the self, the ruler of the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, which is the child, that innocence. And then Mars in Scorpio. Scorpio is also Mars is also the ruler of Scorpio. That's its other ruling sign, the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So this is where you're growing up in some area of your life. But in a sense, you're also returning to your core essence. So how have you now, however many ever years you've been alive on this planet, how have you evolved in maturity without losing the essence of who you are? How are you now more conscious of your power, your authority, and the rules you want to live your life by, and the foundation you want to build your life on? Scorpio also asks that we not cling to something that's changing, because something is evolving, and the less you try to hold on to what was the past. Because no matter what has happened right now over the past few weeks, and really this has been building up, nothing just happens overnight, right? And Saturn's been in Scorpio since 2000, 12, since about this last conjunction, soon after this last conjunction, so in August, Saturn entered Scorpio in October 2012. So really, this has been building and developing and unfolding in the shadows for as long. And now Saturn's making its final pass through Scorpio between now and December, and will return to Scorpio for a brief while next year between June, July, and September. But for now, Saturn is a teacher, but Saturn promises rewards. So if you're willing to do the work, the rewards are there. But first, Saturn asks for humility. First, Saturn asks for knowing your limitations, being aware of your limitations, so you can grow. And again, Saturn is all about mastery. So you can't control anything outside of yourself, but you can control your own energy. And not in terms of controlling in the sense of I'm not going to release my emotions or express my emotions, but it's a matter of doing it consciously. So if you want to go scream somewhere, go scream somewhere if you're being frustrated, rather than taking it out on the people around you. And we're all quote unquote guilty of that, but that's not about guilt. It's just about we're all human. And it's about owning that darkness, recognizing the darkness. Then you can be in control of it. Not being in denial of it or not saying that I don't have it, because we all do. And this darkness can come in many forms, whether it's possessiveness, jealousy, attachment, desire, wanting to control something, all of that. So in Scorpio, there's also that thing of knowing your limitations, where Saturn teaches you that, and having to surrender to a higher will of the universe, and looking at, this is the Virgo, also this is happening under a Virgo new moon cycle. So something's going to take time to build or rebuild or resurrect. But if something's worth it, then you're going to work for it. And this is not about working for the rewards, but you're working because you're healing something, and it's serving a deeper purpose in that moment itself. And it's the surrender to the mystery, which is you have a sense of curiosity, perhaps, or a simple desire, without necessarily having as long as you're not holding on, again, I keep saying this, but as long as you're not holding on to the outcome or the attachment of how something will play out or what something will look like at the end, you can trust that you don't need to cling to anything. What's real is not going to leave you. And something that's not real, no matter how hard you cling, it's not going to stay. It's only going to prevent your progress or evolution into this next chapter of your life. So depending on what sign you are, and I've written horoscopes, which I'll add a link somewhere here, or then you can check out my website, which I'll add below as well. But I've written horoscopes for the Mars-Saturn conjunction, which cover the next 2 years. And what you're beginning now, it requires your commitment. And you have the power to make that commitment. You choose where you invest your energy. You choose what you feed in your life, whether you're feeding drama or you're feeding constructive change, because change is happening. It's a matter of you doing it consciously. So you're aware of what you're creating, and then you're not allowing, pride and other stuff to stand in the way of it, or your need to be in control of a situation stand in the way. Surrender, So, yeah, do read your Mars-Saturn horoscopes. The sample horoscopes are up. If you want the full horoscope, you can sign up for the subscriber service, which helps support these videos. But you get a 1-week free trial, and I'll send out the horoscopes and report to you. And of course, yeah, if you want to do a consultation, that's always helpful. So you can email me for that, or again, details are on my website. And yeah, I think I'll stop here for now. I'm sure I'll have more stuff to say, but this is again the Mars-Saturn conjunction and beginning of a 2-year cycle. So be conscious of what you're building, what you're laying the foundation of your life on. Venus just squared Mars and Saturn. So It's understanding your own desires and acknowledging your own feelings and your own, what you want to create for yourself. And then your life will, and how you can live a more authentic life so that your outer life reflects your inner life. But first, you have to become aware and acknowledge and recognize that inner life. And then, whatever desires you have, you need not project them out onto the world or, expect someone else to fulfill them. But in just acknowledging your desires, where relationships can deepen, is where that Mars and Saturn conjunction in Scorpio comes in, which is, it's about what you're sharing with another, not what you're giving or taking from another. It's what you're sharing freely. And in that deep exchange, something new is born. So, and that, of course, I'm saying in terms of your relationships, but really, again, I always say this, which is the work really happens inside. And trust me, take it from me, Saturn's on my ascendant, or about to be. I've learned the hard way. You've got to do the work. So, no matter how much I speak the astrology, it's not about knowing the astrology. You still have to live it. And living it means living it consciously, which means overcoming your own ego. Or at least being aware of it so it doesn't get in your way and keep you from what you actually desire and want, and the love you have to share, or your creativity or your passion. That need for validation need not be there, and don't look for the rewards right now for whatever you're doing, whether it's work or love or your personal life. It's just about you doing the work. So look at this, whatever's going on in your life right now, consider it's work in progress, and you can't judge it by its present conditions. So just, you decide if you want something to, you decide what you want to build. So that's it for now. Once again, Ganpati Bappa is the remover of all obstacles, and this is a Mars-Saturn conjunction. We're moving forward. You can't move forward when you're looking over your shoulder. So yeah, Ganpati Bappa Moria, and Tata for now.